In the modern format, the Rock has been struggling to keep up with the times. But in the new set Thunder Junction, there are a few new cards and a new mechanic that is boosting the Rock. The new card from the set is Free Strider Lookout. This is a 3-mana 3/3 with reach that says whenever you commit a crime, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped and put the rest on the bottom of your library. It does only trigger once per turn, but if you don't know what the crime mechanic is, all you have to do is target an opponent, something they control, or something in their graveyard, and you trigger this mechanic. And when looking at the rest of this list, we do have 2 more crime mechanic cards, which are Giza the Hellraiser, which is a 5-mana creature that makes 2/2 zombies when you target the opponent, and Karvek the Punisher, which allows you to cast stuff out of your graveyard when you commit a crime. So we're going to be taking these new cards and mechanic into the modern format to see how powerful they really are. Match 1, we're on the play, and starting hand looks fine. 3 game actions, opponent puts in 2 ley lines and plays out a Floodstrand. We draw another Lookout, we'll play Swamp and fire off a Thoughtseize, and we'll take the Tribal Flames. Opponent chucks in a Tomb and dash out a Ragavan, exiling a land off the top. Dog off the top, great draw, we'll play that out and pass. Opponent dash out another Ragavan, go into attack, we will cast it a Bowmasters, killing it. Opponent plays a land and bolts our Bowmasters. We draw a Catacombs, we'll play a Taknuma, attacking for 1 and hold up Saga. Opponent buys Gigantha, passing back, we'll make a Construct. Find a Glissa, we'll float a mana off of Saga, picking up a Relic, play out our Stone, attack in for 4, play out a Verdant, a Forest, and play out our Lookout. And on the end step, they flash into Leyline Binding, targeting our Lookout, so we will target the opponent, and we get to put a Restless Koch onto the battlefield. That's pretty sweet. When opponent plays out a Sai and a Draco, we find a Swamp, we'll play it out, cast out our Glissa. As it resolves, and we will target the opponent, making 2 Zombos. This card's so sick. Opponent plays out an Neshoba Brawler and attacks in. Another push. We'll play out our Lookout and target the opponent with our Relic. We biff on our Lookout. And on their upkeep, we will activate our Stone, targeting them again, getting 2 triggers. We'll put a Swamp into play. That appears a fantastic draw. Opponent attacks in, plays out a Territorial Kavu. Find a Haywire Might. We will play it out, then get rid of their Leyline Binding, triggering our creatures, put a Swamp onto the battlefield. We'll play out our Shadow Spear, which they Stubborn Denial, and we just have to pass back. Opponent attacks in for 4. We'll take it. And in step, we will target them with our Relic. They fire off a taking out our Giza. We'll put a Saga into play off our Lookout, make 2 more zombies, and put another Saga into play. Find a Bloodchief Thirst. We'll target the opponent, get 2 triggers with our Lookout, put a Flats onto the battlefield, and another Saga onto the battlefield. And I guess we just have to pass here, not being able to do anything. I'm going to attacks in 4, we'll take it. Instead, we will make 2 constructs, pick up a Relic and a Bauble, play at our land, target the opponent with a Relic, and put 2 lands into play, and pass back again. Opponent's attacking in with everything here, and they scoop it up! Wow, we actually won that game. Crazy. We're going to take out a Stone, 2 Baubles, Gissa, a Caverick, a Titus Tracker, and a Relic for 3 Pick Your Poison and 4 Fulminator. Game 2, hand is just a little too slow, so we got a Mole. This hand's also not great, but we will keep it, putting back a Swamp. Then it goes turn 1 Fetch Shock into a Ragavan. We find a Bloodchief's Thirst, we'll play out Swamp and fire off our Bloodchief's Thirst on the Rag. Opponent shocks in a Breeding Pool, playing out in a Neshoba Brawler. Ooh, Thoughtseize off the top, we'll fire that off, and we'll just take their other threat here, play out a Marsh Flats, passing. Opponent fetches a Plains, attacks in 4, we'll fetch out a Swamp, and push the Brawler. And they pick up the Gigantha. We find a Pick Your Poison, we'll play Verdant, passing. Opponent plays a Foothills, and we'll Surveil on the instep. And we'll bottom a Scrabbling Claws. They push for us, play our Saga, passing, and they wear Tear It. Opponent plays a land into a Gigantha, and instep we got a Cycler on Earth. Ooh, another Pick Your Poison into a Lookout. We'll play our Lookout. They fire off a Leyline Binding. Oh, and dash out a Ragavan, hitting us for 7. And they do play our Shadow Spear. We will Pick Your Poison, making them sack the Leyline Binding. In response, they flash another Leyline Binding out. Opponent dash out a Ragavan, whip Shadow Spear to their Gigantha. We'll push the Rag, take 6, go down to 3. Find a Thoughtseize. We'll fire it off and scoop it up here. We can't beat the Gigantha. Game 3, starting hand looks pretty powerful here, so we'll keep lead on turn 1, Tomb Tap. Opponent goes turn 1, Fetch Shock into a Ragavan. Land, please, yes! Swamp into a Bowmasters, popping the Ragavan. And I think these 2 Fulminator Mages are going to be absurd. Opponent Fetch Shocks for Temple Garden, playing out a Brawler. We find a Lookout, we'll play out our Saga, and play out our Fulminator Mage. And we'll take out Temple Garden, passing back to the opponent. Another Ragavan, the opponent. Oh my, do they not have a land? Oh no, opponent! Oh, this is so good for us. We will unearth our Fulminator Mage, take out their Stevens, play a Misty, fetch out a Forest, and cast out our Lookout, passing back. And opponent scoops it up. We are 1-0. Let's get on to the next match. We're on the draw, and starting hand has no lands, so we get a Mole. Our 6 is a little weak, but opponent's on a Mole to 5, so we'll keep this and put back a Bloodchief's Thirst. Opponent goes turn 1 Mesa, we'll go turn 1 Forest into a Relic, then cast out our Bauble. bobble and pass. Upkeep, we bobble them and see lightning bolt. No land from the opponent. We top deck a saga. We'll play that out and pass. Opponent plays out a rag. Passing, we draw a relic. Play out our saga and pass the opponent. Opponent plays out a land. Tax in. We'll make a construct. They bolt our construct. They connect, exiling an Urza saga, and then play out a territorial Kavu. We top deck an unearth. We'll float a mana off saga. Pick up a scrabbling clause. Play out our lookout. Exile card from their graveyard, triggering a crime. Put a swamp into play and pass back. Opponent casts out a leyline binding. Taking out our lookout, we will target them with the relic, triggering the crime. Put a overgrown tomb onto the battlefield. They attack in, discarding an Ashoba Brawler. Exile a verdant, making a treasure, and then run out on a coddle. We'll float a mana off saga. Picking up our haywire might, we will sack it, getting rid of their leyline binding. And we'll activate scrabbling calls, getting a crime trigger. And they bolt our lookout. We'll put a Takenuma into play. Then we will unearth our lookout. Then target them with our relic, triggering a crime. Put in a tomb. Then we will fetch out a swamp, cast our Bowmasters, killing their Ragavan, and pass to them. On their upkeep, we will fire off our Fatal Push, getting rid of the Kavu, triggering our crime once again. And we do whiff here, sadly. Opponent attacks in, we'll chump block with our army. And they fire off another leyline binding, taking out our lookout. We find a Restless Cottage. We'll sack our Scrabbling Claws, exiling a card from the yard, drawing. I need a push. Play a Restless Cottage, back in, play out a relic, pop one of the relics, find unearth, unfortunate. Fire off our Fatal Push now, and exile it from the yard. Opponent plays out a Brawler, and we top deck a Giza. Oh my goodness, this is so good. And we'll Thoughtseize them to trigger a crime, even though we know they have nothing in their hand. Then pass back. Upkeep, we will target them with a relic, and opponent scoops it up there. Let's get on to sideboarding. We're gonna take out a Giza, 2 Scrabbling Claws, a Lookout, 2 Bloodchief's Thirst, and a Mistress Bubble for 3 Pick Your Poison and 4 Fulminator Mage. Game 2, starting hand is a little slow, but we'll keep it. And they do have a pregame action putting on a leyline binding and go turn 1 Wild Nacatl. We top deck a push, we'll go turn 1 Takenuma into a Thoughtseize, and we will take a Kavu. They play out a Strand, attacking for 3. Find a Thoughtseize, we'll play out a Saga. When it goes to combat, we will Fatal Push their Nacatl, and they play out a Brawler. Ooh, that is a land, not a good one though. We'll fire off a Thoughtseize, take a Lightning Bolt, and play our Castle. Opponent plays out a Triumph, attacks in for 5. Top deck a Shieldred, put a mana off Saga, pick up a Relic, pop it, find another Unearth, so we'll cycle an Unearth, finding a Bauble, look at their top card, seeing another Leyline, and they do have 5 damage because they have another Bolt in hand, so we'll scoop it up. Game 3, starting hand is a little too landlight, so it won't. And another landlight hand, but we will keep and put back a Fatal Push. Lead on turn 1 Bauble, and play out our Takenuma. And we see their top card, it is a Stubborn Denial. Find a Saga and an Underground Manoaries, so we play that out first, and we'll put a Shadow Spear in the yard. Opponent shocks in a Breeding Pool and plays out a Kavu, which we will Fatal Push. Find another Unearth, we'll play out our Saga, and cast out a Haywire Might. Opponent plays out a Pick Your Poison, making a sack an enchantment, and then plays out a Kavu, so we will cycle on Earth. I need Thoughtseize. Castle Lockthwain off the top, not great. We'll Thoughtseize the opponent, and we'll take their Wild Nacatl, play out a Castle Lockthwain, and pass. Opponent attacks in, loots with their Kavu. They cast a Pick Your Poison, making us sacrifice our Haywire Might, and we'll cycle another Unearth. Bowmaster's not a bad pickup. I need a land, we'll play that, pass. Opponent goes to attack, we'll flash in our Bowmasters, shoot the opponent, and they do cast a Leyline Binding, taking out our Bowmasters, and we'll chump with our army. Then they cast out a Brawler, another land for us. We'll cast Pick Your Poison, making them sacrifice their Leyline Binding, shoot the opponent, play a land, and pass. Another Leyline Binding for the opponent, taking out our Bowmasters, and they attack in with the team looting. We'll chump again, and in step we will activate Castle. We top deck a Pick Your Poison and a Karevrik. We'll fire off our Pick Your Poison, making them sacrifice their Leyline Binding, which they Stubborn Denial, play out our creature, and I think we are just too far behind at this point, but we'll take a draw step. Opponent top decks a Scion, attacks in with the team. We'll trade our Brawler with our creature, and we draw a land for turn. We'll play it out, activate our Castle, finding a Thoughtseize, we'll fire it off, but sadly we are not going to take this one down. Take a Stubborn Denial, and opponent got us, so let's get on to the next match. We are on the play, and our starting hand is a little land light, so mole, and our 6 is a little bit better. We will keep and put back a Shadow Spear. We'll lead on turn 1 Swamp into a Relic, and play out our Bauble. And we see a Marsh Flats on top of the opponent's deck. Opponent plays out a Swamp into an Evoked Out Grief. They take our Unearth, and they not dead after all their grief, and then take our Fatal Push. We top deck another Relic. We'll play that out, and then play a Verdant. Opponent plays out a land, attacks in for 4, and then they fetch, picking up a Dothy. So in response, we will Surveil, and we'll bin a Thoughtseize. Ooh, that was an insanely nice draw. So we'll just play out Haywire Might and pass the opponent. Opponent plays out an Urborg, and then attacks in for 7, into a Shadow Spear. So we'll pop our Relic, finding an Unearth, funnily enough, and a Bowmasters. We're gonna pop our Relic again, and we really only gonna win this game if we found a land, so we did not, so we had to scoop it up sadly, and we'll get on to sideboarding. And I don't think we're gonna make any changes here, so let's send it back. Game 2, starting hand looks pretty sweet, so we'll keep. We'll lead on turn 1 Swamp and do a Thoughtseize. And I guess we're just gonna be taking the grief. Feeling pretty good about this. Opponent plays out a tapped land. We top deck on Earth. We'll play out our land. Opponent plays out a Saga. Instep, we'll Surveil. And we'll keep a land on top. We'll play out our land and play out our Tireless Tracker. And on our Instep, they fire off a Bowmasters. Attacks in with the team. We will not block. Then they fire off a Thoughtseize. And they take our Karevik. That seems like a really sus one. We will unearth it. Dock in our Overgrown Tomb. Investigate with our tracker. Fatal Push the Bowmasters. And we will exile our Thoughtseize. Cast our Thoughtseize on them. What is going on? I guess we're up against like 8 rack or something. We will take their Liliana and then go to combat, attacking for 3. And they do float a mana off Saga, finding a rack. And Fatal Push our Karevik. I don't know how to say this card. I'm sorry. And no attacks to them. Before this rack triggers, we'll sacrifice a clue, get an extra card in our hand, taking 1 damage. We'll play out our Saga, triggering our tracker, crack our clue, throw our tracker, finding a lookout, pretty good one, attacking for 5. And they do chump here. Opponent plays out a swamp into a wrench mine, and we'll just discard our 2 creatures here. Upkeep, we take 2, find a lookout, play our land, play our lookout, attacking for 5. Opponent plays out another rack. We'll make construct, upkeep, double rack triggers, crack a clue, 4 going down to 1, load a mana off Saga, pick up a relic, target the opponent, triggering our lookout, putting in a Saga, play out our Shadow Spear, equip it to our tracker, and attack in for lethal. What an interesting one. So let's get on to game 3. Game 3, we're going to take out 2 Bloodchief's Thirst and bring in 2 EEs. Game 3, starting hand looks pretty sweet. Opponent leads on an Evoked Out Grief without playing a land. Interesting. Then they play out a Marsh Flats. We will lead on our Swamp into a Relic. Opponent plays that Herborg, passing. Draw another land. We'll play out our Saga and pass. And on our Instep, they do have a Bowmasters. Opponent plays out their own Saga into a Thoughtseize. Look at this card advantage go. Bang, bang. And then they play out a Dothi. So we'll exile a card in response. And they attack in for 2. And they Surgical our Fatal Push, going Hellbent. Another land for us. Play out a Verdant, fetch, picking up our Forest, and pass. An opponent does attack with a team, so we'll make a construct. And we'll block their Orc Army. Wow, and nothing. So we'll activate Relic. Another Saga off the top. We'll float a black mana off of our Saga, pick up our Haywire Might, activate our Haywire Might, getting rid of their Saga. And in response, they make a construct. So then we'll play out another Saga. When attacks in team, we'll block with our construct. They Undying Evil their Bowmasters. So in response to the Undying trigger, we will pop our Relic. Another land. Wow. We love spells here. Wowzer. We are top decking like a beast. Oh my goodness. We'll play out our Verdant and pass. On attacks in team. Instep, we will fetch, shrine, or surveilling, putting a land to the yard, and then make a construct. Another land for us. We'll make a construct. Pick up our Shadow Spear, play out our land, equip our Shadow Spear to our construct, and attacking for 4. And on our Instep, they make us sacrifice a creature token. On attacks in for 4. Oh my gosh, a spell! And I think this is actually better than making a construct, so we'll play out our tracker. In response, they do Fatal Push our construct, and we'll play out a swamp, making a token, and equipping Shadow Spear to our Tireless Tracker. Opponent attacks in for 3. Tap, finding a Thoughtseize, construct, picking up a stone, go to combat, attack in, and we would have died to a Bowmasters anyway, so we're gonna crack a clue, try and gain an extra life here, then play out a Verdant, passing. Opponent attacks in for another 3, and plays out another Dothi. I think we have him here. Instep, we'll fetch with our Verdant, make another clue, play a land, get a clue, back a clue, grow our tracker, back in for lethal. Wow, we won the game, drawing like no spells. Wow, that's just the power of the Saga. Anyways, let's get on to the next match. We are on the draw, and our starting hand is pretty good here, so we'll keep. It leads on turn 1 Blackleaf Cliffs into Ragavan. We find a fetch land, we will shock on our tomb and pass the opponent. Opponent goes to combat, and we will push the monkey. They fire off a Thoughtseize, they take our Unearth and play out a Marsh Flats. We top deck an Unearth, we'll play out our Saga and pass. Opponent suspends a Profane Tutor and plays out a Underworld Cookbook and a Shizo. So we'll flash in a Bowmasters. Oh, Shieldred's so good. Play out our Marsh Flats, attacking with the team. Opponent plays out a Fable the Mirror Breaker. So we'll fetch a Swamp and make a Saga token. And a Restless Cottage. We'll float a mana off Saga here, picking up a Relic of Pernunus. Play out another Bowmasters, shoot the opponent for 1, back in with the team. And they take out our Bowmasters. We will fire off an Unearth, bring it back, taking out their Shaman token, play out our Seiju, and pass. They discard and draw 2, so we'll shoot the opponent for 4. And opponent's good up there. Let's get on to sideboarding. We're gonna bring in 3 Pick Your Poison for 2 Bloodchief's Thirst and a Giza. Game 2, starting hand looks pretty powerful, so we'll keep. Opponent is on a mulligan to 4 and leads on turn 1 Marsh Flats. We'll play turn 1 Misty. On our Instep, they do find a Scry land, spinning another land. Opponent shocks in an Overgrown Tomb and suspends Profane Tutor. We'll find our own land, and we'll bid it on Earth. Find a Pick Your Poison, we'll play out our Saga and pass. Something from the opponent, we'll flash in a Bowmaster and ping the opponent. Top deck a Bauble, we'll play out another Saga. Saga, play out our Bobble, and attack in for 2. Opponent plays out their own Saga, and on the end step, we will make a construct. Another Saga off the top, float a mana off of our Saga, picking up a Relic, play out our Saga, play out our Lookout, exile a card from the yard, triggering Lookout, putting another Saga onto the battlefield, and attacking with the team. And opponent scoops it up there. Let's get on to the next match. We are on the play, and starting hand looks pretty good here. We'll lead on turn 1 flats. Opponent goes turn 1 Gardens into an Amulet. We will surveil, bending a land. Oh, Haywire Might off the top. What a beautiful, beautiful card. We will use it right away, getting rid of their Amulet. Opponent plays out another Amulet into a bounce land. We top deck a Saga. We will play that out into a Lookout. Opponent plays out a Gardens passing. We draw another Saga. We'll play out our Scrabbling Claws. Target the opponent now, triggering our Crime. We'll put a Swamp onto the battlefield. Play out our Verdant and go to combat. Backing in for 3. And on our end step, they do copy the Amulet. Opponent plays out a bounce land into a Primeval Titan, and I don't care to see how this ends out, so we will scoop it up and get on to sideboarding. We're going to take out all our Graveyard Hate, 3 Lookouts and a Giza for 3 Pick Your Poison, 4 Familiar Mage, and 2 Necromentia. Game 2 starting hand looks perfect. We will keep. Get on turn 1 Swamp. One goes turn 1 Gardens into an Amulet. We find another Bowmasters. We'll go Swamp pass. One plays a Forest passing. We'll play out a Bowmasters. We draw a land. We will fetch Shock. Play out our Familiar Mage. Then attacking with the team. One plays out a Battlements. Top deck a Thoughtseize. Fired off. We'll take their One Ring. Play out Besiege and attacking with the team. And before it blocks, we'll flash another Bowmasters, dealing an extra damage. One plays out their Besiege, then explores, getting 2 Bowmaster triggers, and they scoop it up. Let's get on to game 3. We're going to take out a Lookout for a Pithy Needle. Game 3, starting hand is a little weak, but we'll definitely keep. One goes turn 1 Forest into a Grazer, putting in a Saga. We top deck a Swamp. We will shock in our Tomb and fire off our Thoughtseize. And we'll take the One Ring. Less up, no land for the opponent. Find a Bobble, play that out, play our Saga, and pass the opponent. Opponent floats a mana off Saga, finding an Amulet, and they do find a bounce land. We'll play out our Swamp and pass the opponent. Our opponent goes for a Summer's Pact here, picking up a Dryad. They do play out a bounce land, so we will make a construct, find another Bobble. We'll make another construct, picking up a Haywire Might, play out our Bobble, go to combat, attacking for 5, jump block here, play out our Misty, fetch Shock. Oh, I misclicked. Okay, that's fine. Oh, that's so unfortunate. They do have to pay for Summer's Pact here. One plays out a bounce land, picking up a bounce land, and then playing a forest. We find a land. We'll play out our Shadow Spear, go to combat, back in for 12. When it's down to 8, we will sack our Haywire Might, take out their Amulet, and then Fatal Push their Dryad into a tap land, passing. Opponent cast a Summer's Pact, and they pick up another Dryad, playing it out into a bounce land, and then playing out their forest. We top deck a Saga, we will play that out, then kill their Dryad, and they scoop it up. We end up going 4-1. I do think there are some big changes that I'd make. I think the Giza, or this top end 5-drop, is a little weak, and so is this card. They were both extremely underwhelming. Giza was a little bit better, and the top end, it does work well, like, with the Lookout, but I think if you have Lookout on the battlefield, you're kind of already ahead, so then, like, having this top end Giza, like, it's okay at best. And then as for, like, other possible things to add, I do like the idea of maybe adding a bounce land to this list. Now, I know I did that with Elvish Reclaimer, and that's pretty good once you can find it, but my kind of inclination here is that when you have Lookout and you're kind of turning through all of your, you know, cards in your deck, all your lands, there are some lands that you would really like to pick up, especially Takenuma or Besiege. And a card that I was not, like, terribly impressed is with Castle Lockbane. I've tried that card out a lot in green-black variants, and it's just, like, super underwhelming, so I would just cut that. And Shieldred never really came up to be relevant, although I do think this, and I know it is a very good card in this format, so I don't know. I'm on the fence about this card, but it's because I never drew it in, you know, 5 games doesn't really say much. As for the sideboard, I think, you know, it looks pretty much perfect. Maybe you don't need the Necromentias, maybe you don't need 4 Fulminator Mages, but I think some number of Fulminator Mages, especially when you're running, you know, 4 on Earth, seems really powerful. And our only loss was to Zoo, and I'm not really sure how I changed that matchup. We did end up beating it once, and we lost to it once, so I would have to play that more to really understand, you know, the ins and outs and, like, where we are weaker. I don't really know, like, maybe you want to 4th pick your poison for that matchup, because it is a really popular deck. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.